Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, we're going to be taking a look at some more hidden details and secret features from the Doomsday Heist DLC trailer, as well as the recently released artwork. So Rockstar typically don't release the full-scale size artwork before the update, but this time they did, and it's actually given us some pretty cool new details. So let's actually take a look at those right now, and let's start with this one right here. So this one actually shows off a couple of interesting things. Let's start with the guy on the right. This guy has a new mask on. It looks pretty cool. I'm assuming Rockstar is going to be building off of some of the masks they added in gun running import-export. So I'm assuming we'll be able to apply those to our characters. He also has like this almost football pad style armor on with the shoulder plates and whatnot. So I think that's going to be new armor as well. What's interesting is he has this like casual long sleeve shirt underneath. So are we going to be able to layer this sort of stuff? Well, I guess we'll find out. He also has a Mark II weapon of the G36C or the carbine rifle. So that's going to be another Mark II weapon. Let's shift our focus to the guy on the left. It looks like he has a new vest on, which is actually kind of cool, kind of the outer armor plating, so that'll be neat to see. And then a Mark II version of the Marksman sniper rifle, which I think is going to be pretty interesting. Now, take a look at the background. You can see some of the TVs are shot out. It says IAA, so we're assuming this is taking place in the same spot. And there's also bullet holes on the wall. How does this sort of area turn into this engagement? Because if we take a look at the trailer, something else to notice is that Agent 14 and this other lady, they actually come to our characters with guns drawn. So is something wrong? Is something going on? Are we going to be having a shootout in this area? Or is Rockstar just doing this for their artwork and promotional stuff? So that's the first set of artwork right there that I thought was pretty awesome. The next one right here, it's pretty simple. I think this is a new mask as well. Doesn't look to be a new a jacket or anything. Might be new gloves. Looks like a standard pistol with a silencer on there. This is just menacing. This guy looks like the Predator. I thought this was a really cool mask. And let's move on to the third one right here, which kind of encompasses all of them. So let's start in the top left. We can see the new Akula attack helicopter. And one thing I missed is it has these like miniguns that seem to be firing from the side as well. This thing might be more powerful weapon-wise than the Hunter, which will definitely be interesting. We've already taken a look at the other two on the top. So let's go to the bottom left, where you can see our submarine vehicle actually shooting a missile at one of those underwater mines. So this confirms a couple things. Number one, underwater mines are going to be a threat. Number two, this thing can shoot missiles. And also, number three, we're able to confirm that this is the same vehicle that can be found in the hangar when Lester's talking. It's kind of over his left shoulder if we were looking at it from his perspective. So that's cool confirmation right there. I was wrong. I thought that was a different vehicle. It's the same one. So scratch that off the list of potential new vehicles we have. Moving over, we can see the jetpack. Now, the two interesting things about the jetpack that I've noticed, number one, the guy is wearing civilian clothing, like just a casual suit, whereas when we saw our guys taking off in the jetpack, they were in this pretty special gear. So I think that confirms that we'll be able to use it without all that special gear on. And this one right here doesn't have miniguns attached to it, whereas the one we saw in the trailer has miniguns attached to it. So I'm assuming that that means it's an upgradable option, likely done through research. And in the bottom right, the biggest picture is the new tank, the TM02. Now, one interesting thing about this, have you noticed that it's black and purple and it has that sort of like SecuroServe glowing Illuminati symbol? Well, I've actually got a theory about this. I think that Clifford, the supercomputer that's actually deployed to help us, is actually the bad guy. And any vehicle we see that is purple and black and it has this logo on there are actually the bad guys, and they're bad vehicles that are controlled by Clifford. So we actually see this in two instances. Number one, in the trailer with this tank. Now, following the tank, something else that's interesting to note is a black and purple Dubsta 6x6, and that has the bad guys. So I think we are in the Hunters actually chasing this tank. I don't think it's the other way around. We're trying to take out this tank that's controlled by Clifford. And we also see this at another point in the trailer. However, I think the transformation of Clifford becoming the bad guy is something that happens over the heist missions, because we're using it in this off-road trophy truck and we seem to be the good guys here. So I think that's what's going to happen, a la sort of Star Wars a little bit. You know, the good guy ends up becoming the bad guy. So I think that's what's going to happen here as far as the storyline goes. Clifford, the supercomputer, will originally try and help us and then ultimately becomes the bad guy. Now, two things I noticed from this screen right here. So we've talked about the Deluxo and the Akula prep mission, but two things here that you might not have known. Number one, that guy's name, the billionaire who made Clifford, his full name is Avon Hertz, kind of like the car company that you might rent from at the airport. And then there's another mission that we can kind of see. We can see the bottom line that says paramedic equipment. So there's going to be a mission involved in this game or in this heist that has us involving some sort of paramedic equipment. And I'm assuming that's tied into one of the scenes we see a little bit later while we're dressed up as paramedics infiltrating the morgue, as I touched on in my video earlier. So just a little detail right there that I thought was pretty cool. Now let's move back to that scene where Lester and the new lady and Agent 14 are actually talking. And over Lester's right shoulder, we can see a plane. And I thought this was a completely new plane or helicopter, but this is actually just the Osprey that we saw earlier in the trailer. The thing that was convincing for me that it was a new plane or a new helicopter or aircraft was that it didn't have the minigun on the front like we saw in the first part of the trailer. However, I'm almost confident that that is going to be a researched upgrade option for this aircraft. So the one we saw over Lester's shoulder just likely didn't have that upgrade on there, but I can assure you that they are the same plane. Their windshields are the same. They have the same points and whatnot. So that's the same vehicle. It's unfortunately not new. Something else I noticed that was pretty cool, when this jet is flying over Mount Chiliad, it's dropping bombs, there's a SAM site that's actually shooting missiles at this jet, which to me indicates that there's something pretty mysterious going on in Mount Chiliad. I think this is actually where maybe some of the bad guys are posted up, because you're trying to infiltrate and take out their SAM sites, and they're obviously shooting at you. So something very mysterious is going on inside of Mount Chiliad, and I definitely want to figure out what's going on here, because obviously those SAM sites are not there. Just like when Rockstar added the gun running DLC, they added the bunkers to the ground. These are not on Mount Chiliad if you go there right now. So don't expect to go there and see them. In fact, we did that yesterday on my live stream. Moving on, the next thing I thought that was pretty interesting is when they fire that orbital cannon, they only get one shot and then it goes from inactive. So I think this is either going to be a one-time use or might have an incredibly long reload time before you can use it again. Anyways, I thought that was interesting that it went from, hostile and active to inactive pretty quickly. Moving on, the next thing I thought was pretty unique is actually on the missile silo. So in the missile silo, we can see the nuclear missile itself, and it says Los Santos, but it also has this star on there. Now, that star to me looked pretty familiar, and yesterday on my live stream, I found out that that's the exact same star that can be found on the Crusader. And the Crusader is a military jeep that's only found and used by the members of Fort Zancudo. So we've touched on where the location of this might be. Some people have said it's on the submarine. Others have said it's on Mount Chiliad. And some, like myself, think that it has to do with Fort Zancudo. And the fact that it's got that star on there, to me, is even more of an indication that it in some way, shape, or forms involves the military base, involves Fort Zancudo. So I want to hear from you guys. Let me know where you think that is going to be. All right, moving on. In this next scene right here, there's one thing I want to point out and one thing I want to correct. So our characters in this scene are wearing new vests, which are actually kind of awesome. They're almost like V-neck body armor, which looks really, really cool. So I'm excited to get that. And I think the guy on the right might be wearing a new jacket, although it is kind of hard to tell. Now, in a video I did earlier, I couldn't figure out where this is. This is at the Foundry, where like the last mission of Ending C is. So I had no clue where this was earlier. Did a little bit of research. Some of you guys pointed it out to me that this is actually where it was. So that's pretty cool. I wonder why we're going to be in here, because the only time we see this in single player is for the very last mission of the game. So that right there is pretty interesting. And the final thing I'm kind of confused about, and I don't understand what happened here, it's when the jetpacks are rising out of Mount Chiliad. How do the helicopters just suddenly blow up? So the jetpack guys don't shoot anything out. The first helicopter is starting to explode when we actually start the scene, and the others combust a couple milliseconds later. So what happened? Were these helicopters set to explode by someone else? And then we see a fourth one that blows up as well. So something must have happened. Maybe this is when we blow up the supercomputer that Clifford controls, and potentially that like destroys all of his vehicles that he has control over as well. I'm not sure, but the more and more I looked over this trailer, I was like, how did those helicopters end up exploding with absolutely nothing